All right, hello. Once again, I'm Wallaber. This is this Twitch chat integrated game that I've been working on called Chat Predicts, which eventually you will see over there in the corner of the stream. I've been running it the last few streams, but there's been a bunch of bugs with it, so I've turned it off, and we're gonna work on it today. And the last thing I was working on is I wanted to add in a feature where players could choose like an emote or something to be kind of like their profile picture for the game, so that when the leaderboard popped up, there would be a picture there. And I was struggling because although the library I'm using to communicate with Twitch and Twitch chat called TwitchLib had a Unity version, and that Unity version included an API that looked like it was going to provide emotes, they weren't working no matter what I did. I was just getting an empty array. After researching a little bit, it looks like the pre-compiled version of TwitchLib that you can find out there is from like 2018, so it's pretty old. And then the TwitchLib proper, not the Unity wrapper for it, but just the normal TwitchLib, has been updated much more recently. So I've done some off-stream Frankensteining. And what I ended up doing is I went and got TwitchLib itself and compiled it into a DLL myself, like the latest TwitchLib. And so now if you look in my plugins folder of the project, you will see tons of files, because these are all the like individual DLLs that constitute all the elements of TwitchLib and its dependencies. And then I took the code from TwitchLib Unity and it brought that in manually. So now this code is referencing and using these updated TwitchLib DLLs. And I have no idea if there's going to be some unforeseen bugs as a result of that. But the game does work, and it connects and joins the channel, and I believe you can vote now. Like if I vote a 4 in the chat, yeah, we'll see Wallaber voted, and that vote actually got logged, so that's good. And I had temporarily hooked up a thing where if you type !emote and then put in an emote, like any old one, doesn't really matter. Let me find one here real quick. Okay, so if I want to swap in like that, then we see down here got chat command of emote from Wallaber, and in emote data we have some data which we didn't have before. So that's pretty encouraging, because that means we might be able to actually pull that emote out and turn it into an image, so that here, instead of seeing this, sort of placeholder, you could put an emote in there. And then I think eventually I also want to add to it so that it can support emojis as well. So if you just like plop an emoji into chat, you can make that your symbol as well. So now what we need to do, because it kind of looks like maybe it's working-ish, is we need to look into this emote data. Let's see. So what do we actually get with this thing? Yeah, we get a list of emotes. So I think what we want first off is we want to, this is the attempt set emote command, right? So we're just going to say if emotes does not equal null. Actually, we need to handle all these different cases here. Because we want to probably have some error handling. So let's try it. Let's do it like this. If emotes equals null. Then for now, let's just do debug.log warning. And actually, don't we have a log? Yeah, we do. We can actually show this on the screen as well. But we'll just do debug log to get started. Got emote command, but no emotes. Okay. Now let's handle the case else if emotes dot. Oh, okay. Wait. This is the emote set, but no emote set. Which this seems like that would be unlikely that that's gonna happen. Losing League. Hello again. Took a break, but just finished Roboscape. Nice, nice. What did you think? That was pretty fun. I liked it. It was a fun game. I think based on this is unlikely that this will ever be null. But just in case, let's put this in here. Log warning. Got emote data, but null emote list. Okay, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Else if emotes. Now, what happens if you put in more than one emote? Do we just take the first one? Didn't give me a time. Safe to assume because I quit out halfway through. But yeah, I think it was fun. Hope there are more levels in the future. Yeah, I imagine it's kind of thing where the developer is taking a wait and see approach to see if people actually buy the game or not, right? We'll see. That was fun though. I would definitely, if there were more levels, I would definitely play them. Yeah, so maybe you only get a time if you do it in one uninterrupted playthrough. So what do we do if you have more than one emote? Do we just take the first one on the list? I think we just take the first one on the list, right? So then we can be like else if emotes.count is greater than 0. Or let's do this. If it's equal 0, this one would probably happen. No emote included. Fun fact, when you finish the level, you float forever. It doesn't end. I know because I'm actively watching it. That is the end. The foreverness is the end. Okay, now we can say else. And then let's get the, so Twitch lib dot, you just keep going up and up and up and up. Client.models.emotes dot emote. Target emote equals emotes.emote 0. Right? And then what do we have on this? We should have a bunch of information. What's this? It's end index. No idea. Okay. There's an ID, which is a string. There's an image URL. And there's a name. Okay. So, let's print out this information. Not a warning, this is just a normal log. Okay. Got emote data. Name equals. And then let's print out the name. And then let's print out emote URL. That's just a string. Okay. Losing League, keep me up to date on your Skybox journey. Let's find out what happens. Okay. So, yeah. We got the name and we got the URL. Because I think what we're going to end up trying to do here, and might as well. Well, here, let's run just this. Okay. So, when it's running, if we type !emote and then like just some text like hello, it says got chat emote, no emote included. Perfect. Now if we say emote and we do this one. No, just one of them, please. Hang on. Chat. And then we say, okay, we got a name, which is Wallabe Jellycar, and then we have a URL here. Okay. Sweet. Now what happens if we do more than one? It should be fine, and it should just do the first one. So if we do like this, and it says we got, yeah, Walla Bear aha, and here we have a different URL here. Okay. Now here's a now what we want to do. Let's try doing this. So we're gonna have a script that's gonna be called. We're just gonna call this Emote Cache. So this script's job is going to be to you give it a name and a URL, and it will pull down the image from that URL, turn it into a Unity texture, and hang on to it with the name as like the key to it. So if you ask for it again, it doesn't re-download it, it just returns the existing image. Okay. So this is going to be a mono behavior, I guess, but we'll probably do just like a sort of a singleton-y kind of thing. So what we can do is we can have a private static emote cache. This will be called our instance, right? This could be null. And then we can have a public static emote cache called capital instance with a getter. And we say if instance equals null, then we say make one. So this one's not going to be placed in the scene by default. It's just the first time you get it, it's going to create a game object and do that. So we'll be like instance object equals new game object, and this is going to be called emote cache. Okay, and then our instance is going to be instance object dot add component of type emote cache, and then we can return instance. No, return that underscore instance. Okay. All right. Oh wait, no, we don't need to do that in here. We need to do that right here. There's probably some stuff we should do here to like mark this. Let's do this. Don't destroy unload instance obj. Okay, and that's probably enough to get us going. Okay, so now we're gonna have, you know, we could go back and look at this. The Twitch client models.emote is a class. Okay. We're going to end up like, I think we're going to copying this state over here. So we're going to have a private class called emote. What is this? Emote instance, I guess we'll call it. And this is going to have a public string name, just for kind of redundancy's sake, public string URL, and then a public texture 2D called texture. Seem to have hit a soft cap of some sort. Not sure I'm moving at all. Yeah, well, and it's harder and harder to tell too the higher up you get, right? Yeah, that was really fun playing that today. I feel like I want to do that a little more often, once in a while, when there's a new physics-based game that comes out. Pull it down and do a playthrough and then put them up on YouTube. I know that, you know, I still search Pro Gymnast every other day or so on YouTube just to see if anyone's put up new videos, so I'm sure the developers would appreciate it if people put up videos of them playing the game, so why not, right? Okay, so here's our instance, right? I guess what we'll do is this is going to default to null. And then I guess we could do this, public void load. Load the texture from the URL. And then here we're just going to have a private dictionary. If the key is a string and the value is an emote instance, and this is our cache. Okay, so now the main things you can do with this emote cache buddy been slacking on my videos, you'll definitely get one on my channel, although my views are obviously very low. It doesn't matter. Every video is fun to watch, and as long as you enjoy making them, then keep doing it. But if you don't enjoy making them, then don't worry about it, you know? Okay, so public yeah, so we need like a public bool has in cache. So question, this is basically asking for a given emote name, is it in the cache or not? Really all it takes is one person. You directly resulted in the sale of RoboSkate today. Yeah, right? Hey, you know, everyone's an influencer technically, right? Even if they only influence one other person. Okay. So this is pretty simple. This is just, we just say if cache contains key emote name. And actually all we want to do is we want to return whether or not. We just want to do that. Is it in the cache or not? And then we can have public emote instance get emote name. I mean, do you ever want anything other than the texture? I think all you really want is the texture. Get emote texture. And so then we'll say, you know, if our cache contains the key name, then we go emote instance, I don't want to call it that, E equals cache name. I must be moving. The course is now out of my draw distance. All right. Maybe you'll make it to outer space. Maybe there's a secret level up there. Never know. So we've grabbed this thing, and then we're just going to return e.texture. I guess we probably could also have a... And then it's possible here that you would be like, return null. Oh, now... Yeah. Let's do it this way, and then we can also even do a thing that's like, I enjoy these types of games, although I must admit never finished getting over it. Me either. I should go back to it, but I didn't even get close. After watching a full playthrough, I was like a third of the way. Yeah, I found that game really hard, but I should play it again now that I've seen some strategies people use that I didn't discover myself. We can also have one that's like, is texture ready? And this would just be pretty similar to this method here. Did you ever work with Bennett Foddy? He seems like he is a very nice guy. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, you know, call him a friend, probably more of an acquaintance, but I have on occasion sent him work in progress builds. I did for Pro Gymnast twice during the development of the game, and he is super nice and took time and played the game and sent me feedback. And I met him in person once, I think, at like a Unity event. Yeah, he's really nice, very approachable, super smart, as you would expect. Okay. So if we have it, then we just want to return whether or not this is non-null. Okay. Okay, so there's some handy helpers. Now what we need to do is we want to do public void add emote. And we're going to pass in the emote name and the URL. Okay. And I guess we should just be double safe here where we say if in cache, and then we just return. But otherwise, we create an emote instance. E equals new emote instance, right? And the name is emote name. The URL is URL, and texture is null. Okay. We create that. We're going to add it to our list. Cache emote name equals E, and then kick off retrieving the texture. And then we could do a thing here where you, if you want, you can pass in a system.action string texture 2D on loaded. So then here we would do e.load like that, and we're going to let load have a system.action string texture 2D unloaded. Okay, now let's see, we're gonna go quickly to the interwebs because I feel like there's newer ways to do what I'm about to do in Unity. Unity web request await stuff. See how this works. Okay, let's try this. Let's see, I can at least share what I'm looking at here. No, we don't care about this. Okay, they're doing this as a as like a coroutine, which we could be okay with that. Tim, this may seem personal, but do you have any advice for someone aspiring to dev games? Just quick tips, not trying to cheat and get your class for free. I do have a answer to this question that I gave on stream once that I turned into a little YouTube video. Let me find the link. There we go. Feel free to peruse that at your leisure. But the basic idea is I'm not really of the opinion that there's one right tech to learn first or later, but I would pick actually something even that's not necessarily programming, like a ready-made tool of some kind, like Game Salad or Game Maker or Construct or Multimedia Fusion, and then just make the simplest game you can possibly think of. Pick the simplest thing you can possibly think of and make that first. Because for me, I think the key is not, am I doing it right, or what's the correct way to do something or not. The reason making games is fun and why it's very easy to actually enjoy the process of getting good at making games is because games are very visual, and so you get feedback instantly, right? You have an idea, you work on it for a second, and then you get visual feedback of that idea is either working or not. And so you can get in a good feedback loop where you have an idea, you make a little change, you see the results, and that is really rewarding and motivating. And so for me, the most important thing is to find whatever tool gets you into a feedback loop, and then pursue that feedback loop. Keep trying to make things that are slightly more interesting, slightly more complicated. Don't worry about your dream game or the specific game you want to make at first. Just make the simplest thing you can think of, then make the next simplest thing now that you're a little better and you're like know how to do a few things, and keep repeating that process. And then eventually, maybe you will outgrow the tool you were started with. And then you go find another tool that's a little more suited to your comfort level now and what you're used to, and then repeat. And when you get stuck, you Google and you ask people and stuff. But the most important thing is to make simple things and slowly build up to bigger things, and get that positive feedback loop along the way. And then really you can't go wrong. And there's really no such thing as the right way to do it or the right language to start with or whatever. It really doesn't matter. I think you should focus much more on getting to an outcome quickly so that you can enjoy the process and not feel overwhelmed and bogged down and confused by it. And then naturally you'll just pursue more and more complicated things, and you'll slowly, at your own pace, learn whatever is appropriate for you to learn next. There's one other thing I didn't mention in the video, which is, and I have my students do this, and so far I really, really like it, and I've done it a few times myself and really liked it as well. And I really strongly recommend doing a thing called covers. So you know how, like, if you want to learn guitar, first you learn a few chords, and then you go look up a song, and you learn how to play that song, right? You do a cover. A lot of bands start out as cover bands where they do other people's music, right? And in every other creative discipline I'm aware of, it's accepted and assumed that you will do that in your early development, right? If you want to learn to paint or draw, they're going to have you mimic and make recreations of famous paintings and different styles and things to learn, right? Same goes obviously for music, like I just said. So games has this weird stigma of originality where every game has to be, there's this thing about cloning a game. It's like this really negative connotation. And I can understand that if you clone a game and then sell that. But for learning, it's unbelievably valuable. So what I recommend is you pick, like, to start with, pick like a classic arcade game, because those games are pretty simple, and clone it. Make a cover of it. And you will find it super interesting. Like, pick something like, I don't know, Tetris, Hubert, original Mario Brothers, whatever. And then what you do is you analyze that game and try to dissect how it works, and then try to make it yourself. It's this unbelievably useful thing, because you will learn how to analyze something, and when you analyze it, you'll start to think about how, now you're just not looking at it as a player, but you're looking at it as, how does it actually function? And I'm going to have to build this thing, so how would I build something like this, right? How would I structure it? What would I need to do that? What's the logic, etc.? And then you can look very carefully at it and measure it. Like, I'm talking like, get a video and look at it frame by frame and write down, Mario's jump is 8 frames long or whatever before he starts descending if you hold the button down the whole time or whatever. If I run to the right, Mario accelerates, but he ends up moving at 15 pixels per second or whatever. You actually get those real numbers, and then you try to build it yourself. The thing about that's nice is that you have a super clear vision, and you already know it's a good game because it's a game that came out and you respect and is high quality. You know exactly what you're supposed to be making, and then you can just focus on how to do it. One thing that will happen, right, is if you're making your own game right off the bat, especially, you'll be trying to do something, and then you'll run into a technical challenge, and you will, without even thinking about it, convince yourself, it doesn't, maybe I could change it, maybe it could work a different way. Actually, what you're doing is you're trying to avoid some problem or some roadblock, and you will like design around it. Then you can end up meandering, and you end up with a game that you're not happy with, or that's like a kind of a negative feedback loop that can occur. So I really recommend doing covers. I, for example, was encouraged to do this by a previous mentor. I was giving some feedback on the game, and I was talking about the camera, and he's like, well, you're not really qualified to talk about cameras. Have you ever tried to make a camera system in a third-person game? And I was like, no, I haven't. And he's like, then you don't know what you're talking about. You should try making one. And so he gave me the explicit instructions to go look at a simple game from a camera point of view, Lego Star Wars. And he said, clone Lego Star Wars camera. And so I did. I picked a section of the game that seemed representative in terms of the camera behavior. I modeled an accurate scale model of the environment and got a character in moving around. And then I deduced how the camera worked, and I built my own camera system in order to replicate the behavior of the camera. All sorts of things, right? Like when the character jumps, the camera does not come with the player. The camera just looks, and then whenever you land and set a new ground height, the camera resets to. So it's like, you know, you're running along, the camera's at some fixed height, and when you jump, it just watches you. But then when you land up high, the camera comes up and sets itself back to the new height. These are all things I never noticed playing the game, but when I analyzed it, because I had to build it, I realized. Anyway, long story short, covers are really great. I did one for Mario Kart, for example, just the basic controls of the basic controls and handling of the base cart. It was super interesting, and made me feel more confident about building different types of games and more capable at analyzing games and understanding them. But anyway, that's the part that wasn't in the video, which is the covers idea. I have my students in my game design class alternate between doing cover projects and then doing their own original concepts. And the students actually really like the covers as well. It lets them really like focus on a game they really like and dissect it and understand it better. All right. So I want like a recent article showing how to download a texture from the interwebs. There's a 2021. Cover different ways that you can make a network request using the Unity web request class nowadays. Blah 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 blah. Java. Cool. Blah blah blah. Set it up. Okay. Here's a basic idea. IEnumerator get request with a URL, and then there's a callback using web request get URL, yield return send, and then call a callback. Okay, so that waits until it's done. Okay. It lets us flexibly make GET requests to pass the response to callback. Now we'll see it's an action. Okay. So here's a thing where you call it, and then you can get some information on the request and do some stuff with it. Okay. Let's look at an example of an image. So they made a thing called image request. Or is that just the name of their? Oh no, here it is. Oh, they have a thing called Unity Web Request Texture.get texture. Hey. Okay, this looks strikingly close to what we want to do. All right. So I may not actually want to do this here then. Let's go like this. Okay, and then down here when we say add emote, we're gonna do the loading. And so we're gonna need these methods here. In the example of covers, do you recommend recreating the art or just using something filler based? So one of the nice things about covers is that you can choose one that is an excuse to learn the thing you want to learn or need to learn next about game dev, which doesn't have to just be code, right? It can also be other things, art, tile sets, audio programming, or dynamic audio, or pathfinding, or just particle systems. I want to learn how to make particles look better, so I'm going to go find a game that has beautiful particles, and I'm going to try and do a cover of the particles. So you pick whatever the cover part is, and then the part that's not the thing you're trying to learn, you do the simplest possible solution for. Things like classic games are often really nice because you can probably find that artwork. And since you're not going to sell this or anything, it should be fine to use it for your personal, development. So I often recommend, if it's a simple game and the source artwork exists somewhere, just go grab it and use it. Because then everything's the right size relative to each other and everything, and it makes process a lot simpler. If you can't do that, then yeah, just do the simplest version of representative artwork. My Lego Star Wars camera was just a quick block out level where the scale was correct, the relative size of things was correct, but it wasn't quality geometry or anything. Okay, I bet we're gonna need a using statement here, right? Using. Well, that's because of that, but we want this right here. Using Unity Engine.networking, I assume is what we need here. Okay. Okay, so we have this method called download image where you give it a URL. And what we're gonna do is we're also going to and right now it's setting it like to a sprite, but we don't want that. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna say we're gonna be able to pass in our system.action, which is gonna pass back a string and a texture 2D. Unloaded. And then this does this, and then now that we have a texture here, we should be able to just say, or let's do this. Let's just do this. Let's do cache, or cache, we'll call it download emote texture. Okay, and then we're going to say, and actually with it, we can pass in the emote instance. Okay, so then we're going to start a coroutine that's an image request, which is this helper down here. And we're going to pass it e.url. And then when it's if it fails, we'll do some stuff here. And then if it succeeds, we get the texture. We set e.texture to be that texture. And then we call onloaded, and we pass in e.name and e.texture. Right, we actually don't want this to be a public method. We want this to be a private method. I'll use my convention here of the private start with an underscore for some reason. Okay, and then we have this one down here, which is just going to be a private image request. And what's the deal here? We just need to have a system.action here. Okay. Now, this we need to change to how we change that. All right. Cool. So then we just need to do this here. Download emote texture, instances E, and then pass along our callback. Now, and the callback could be null. So let's check here. If onloaded does not equal null, then we do that. Okay. Okay. So this is most of what we need, I think. And in order to make this work, what do we need to do? We need to remember in our user entry here, public bool has emote, and then public string emote name. This like list of data per user is getting a little unruly. We can kind of set this up so we can at least see that there's some different sections to it. Okay. So the way this is going to work is that this is going to default to false. So let's look through our code here a little bit. When we make a new user, I'm just going to doubly make sure this stuff is set up like this. Okay, there's our temporary reloading thing, start simulation, sim routine, da-da-da. There's our reveal sequence, score recap sequence. We're going to do some stuff here in a second. It would be down here somewhere. And then, okay. Here's where we create a new user. Just to be safe, we're going to say has emote equals false. Okay. And then when we go here, okay. So if we make it into here, what we can do is we can say, let's see, do we have a way to get a user entry? Yeah, we do. So we say if, yeah, now up here, we have this whole thing where we like add the user if they don't exist. So what this probably should be is actually we should have a helper function called get or add user for a given user ID, which is going to do this bit. Okay, so let's add this up here above this stuff, I guess. Maybe like right here. Private void get or add user string user ID. Oh, it's not going to be a void. It's going to be a user entry. Okay. All right. And then here we're just going to return E. Because E is going to be like that. So we say, do we already have them? Okay, just pull them out of the list. Otherwise, make a new one. Oh, and we need the... I guess we have to have the username as well here. Okay. We either just pull them out of the list or we create them and insert them into the list, and either way we return it. So now up here we have to do this and we have to do username. Okay, so that's the spot where we do that here, and then we can also do this here now. So we can say user entry E equals get or add user with the given user ID and username. Then we just be double safe here and make sure this is non-null. Let's set the texture. So then we can say Emote Cache dot instance dot well, we can say if Emote Cache dot instance. Here, let's do this. Emote Cache EC equals Emote Cache dot instance. Okay, and we can say if EC dot is in cache, and we already have this thing, which is the target emote name. Okay, so if it's already in the cache, then we can just say e dot has emote equals true. Actually, if it's in the cache, yeah, we might have to clean this up a little bit later. And then e dot emote name equals target emote dot name. Yeah, if it's already in the cache, then we're just gonna say we've got it. Or what we could do this. We do this. And then else, if it's not in the cache, or here, I guess what we could do is if ec.has is texture ready. In that scenario, we do e.has emote equals true. In either case here, we set this. And if the texture is already ready, then we mark it so. If not, we're going to get a callback in a second, and we will mark it, hopefully. Okay, so now if it's not in the cache, then we say ec.add emote, and we pass in the target emote dot name and the target emote dot URL. And then we just subscribe here to a quick thing, which is name text like this. Okay, let's do this on a new line so it's kind of clear what's going on here. And in this method we now have this texture. Okay. 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 And so then what we would do right here, I think, is we'll say for each user entry entry in user entries, and we say if entry dot emote name equals name, then we can say entry dot has emote equals true. We now know, what have I done wrong here? This is a key value pair. Gotcha. Okay, so this would be key value pair string user entry kvp in user entries, and then we can say kvp.value and kvp.value. Okay. Okay. So now, in theory, we're closing in on being able to actually display this to these textures to see if they're working or not. And so for that, it's here. So let's go to this thing. So we have our recap sequencer. Recap sequencer has some information on players. And one thing you can give it then is we could give it a texture 2D called, player texture. Okay. So that down here, yeah, now let's go look at our our prefabs. And a recap tile already has a thing called profile image, which wants a sprite. Can I make a sprite? Yeah, I can with this right here, sprite.create. Okay. Okay. So then what we would do is we do something like this, where we would say like if pi.player texture is not null, then, or wait a minute, let's not do texture. Let's do texture. If it's not null, then we do player tile dot play, what is it? What was it? Oh, do we have the way of setting it right now? We have a setup, we have a set, we have a reveal. No. So let's just add one. Let's do this. Public void set texture. And then here we'll just do profile image dot sprite equals sprite create from the texture. Like that. Okay. Okay. So then we can just do set texture to pi.player texture. Okay. Now, if we go back here, player texture equals, and then we say kvp.value.has emote question mark. Okay, we're gonna need a little more moment to do some logic here, so let's actually do this. Recap sequencer dot player info pi equals new player info, and most of this we can just plop into this initializer thingy, and then here we're just gonna add pi. Then we can do a thing right here where we say if kvp.value.has emote, then we can say if emote cache dot is texture, what is it? Oh, instance texture is ready, kvp.value.emote name. then pi dot player texture equals emote cache get dot instance get emote texture or kvp dot value dot emote name. Okay. Now, does this compile? All right, now we're gonna want to play the game faster than normal. So let's set all these reveals down to a shorter time duration. Okay, now let's see what happens here. So if I say emote and give it this one, okay, it printed out some stuff. Now the question is, did it actually? We didn't get any errors. We don't have a texture here. Okay, so let's go in here, go to emote, and do the. Oh, did we ever do add emote? Yeah, we did, right? Down here. Right here. Okay, so let's walk through this and see if our code is correct here. Okay. So boop boop boop, breakpoint. Get that running. Pop back over here. Okay, hit a breakpoint. Okay, so here we are. We're looking. We have username Wallaber with a user ID, and we have a target emote called Wallaba Jellycar. Okay, cool. So we come down here. It is in the cache, it says. That's because I did it before. Texture is not ready. All right, so let's go look at Emote Cache. Let's go into here. Let's try a new one. One we haven't done this run. Okay. So first of all, this one should say it's not in the cache and go into add emote. Okay, there we go. We create an instance, and then we'd go into our download here. Whoops. Can we be in here? And can we be here? Do we ever hit those? Also in our scene, yes, we do have an emote cache. Okay. Cool. I'm not going to be able to see much in it because the dictionaries don't show up by default in the inspector. Just do a random one. Okay. Yeah, so we hit that. Let's get rid of this breakpoint. We hit that. Let's get rid of this breakpoint. Okay, there we go. We hit that. We hit here. What happened? Okay. Texture is... This looks like a real texture. It's a 28 by 28 image. Okay, so... Okay. There we go. Oh, are we just not... Emote instance.texture is getting set here. Okay. So... Up here... Right here. Now let's go right here. Okay. Right now I should have like the heart set as my emote. Can be very low res, which might not be great. Okay, why didn't we hit that breakpoint there? Because we should have Here, let's actually put a breakpoint right here. I probably should have a way to skip this and just go directly to the results. Okay, there we go. We hit our breakpoint. And so it looks like right now has emote is false. Okay, so this thing down here never happened? Let's test that. Okay, so while it's running, we go back here, we say we want a new one. Now we want it to be this one. Okay. So yeah, we're doing that. We're doing that. We're doing that. We make it into here. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, what's the name? Hey guys, okay. Oh, we're not updating it here. Let's look at this. Why is that? Okay, so if you're trying to update your emote, so you come into here, make it down to here. There was an emote. It's real. We check to see if it's in the cache. Ah, okay. This is why. So right here, we need to say the user's, not KBP, the e.emote name needs to be target emote.name. I mean, we're actually setting this in both cases here, so really, we want to set it right here. Remember, this is their emote. Okay, and then I guess right here we would probably say e.has emote equals false, so we assume we don't have it. And then if we check if it's in the cache, we don't need to do this here. And if the texture is already ready, then we say, cool, we got it, and we're done. If the texture is not ready, but it's in the cache, then it should, that in theory means it's queued up, which would be very unlikely. If it wasn't in the cache at all, then we go get it right now. And then on getting, we go through and set this, which should handle most of the cases. I feel like there's probably an edge case here where this doesn't get set to true. It's like if you make it into this, but not this, in a way that you won't get caught here when the final callback comes back. But okay, this should do it now. All right, so let's stop the bot, or stop the game. Now let's run it again. All right. We want to set our emote to this one. Okay, it looks like it pulled down a image. We probably should do some debug printing right there just to make sure that we know it got it. And then we watch this result here. This was a really bouncy one. And okay. Exception. Emote Cache. Oh. What even is name? That's gross. Needs to be emote name. Did I screw that up anywhere else? Let's be super specific here. This should be this. It should be this. Okay. 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 Alright, let's try that again. We were close there. We almost drew a texture on the screen. Now we're probably going to want to not filter these and let them be pixelated. Okay, we need to get in an emote real quick. Let's do this one. Okay. It came in. It looks like it downloaded it. And we have emote. Now, let's try and set a new one. Emote. Well, you know what? I changed my mind. I want it to be this one. I wonder if there's a way to get the higher res one, because the URL is for the 27 by 27, which is really low res. There we go, we changed it. Now let's try changing it back to the previous one. Okay. Now that shouldn't have downloaded it. It should have just pulled it from the cache. And let's see now if it's back to the Wallaber emote when I get to the results screen here. Sweet. Okay, now I think we're going to be okay with the low resiness of it all. We're just going to embrace the low resosity. And so we're going to do a couple things here. Once we get this texture, we're going to set the texture dot, what is it? Filter mode to point, which means no filtering. Okay, and then we're going to have to figure out, now our tile needs to be smarter. So recap tile. This image, how big was this image? 112 by 112. Okay, so what we can do is profile pick. It has the scale already set, 1.8. So what we can do is we can say here, we can go like this, and we can say serialize private int profile. Oh, we don't even need to do this. We can do it this way. So we can say private float we need private int native image size, and then private float native image scale. Okay. And then what we do is on like start or awake, we could say native image size equals profile image dot sprite dot width. Can you get the width of a sprite? We'll just do sprite dot texture. Yeah. Texture dot width, whatever. I'm not going to worry about atlases and stuff at the moment. And then native image scale equals profile image dot transform dot local scale dot x. Okay. So then when you call set texture, we need to calculate the new scale. So if the image was half as big as the original, we would want 2x the scale, right? So what we need to do is AMG scale, and it's going to be float native image size divided by float hex dot width. Then we can say profile image dot transform dot local scale equals vector3.1 times what, which will be native image scale times image scale. Okay, I think that math is correct. So now whatever size texture we throw at it, it should scale it to be this big. Okay. And let's test it. Okay. Having to type in emote each time makes me feel like I'm going to need to start storing and saving and loading data at some point here. So let's say we use this heart. Okay. It'd be cool if we could make it display it in a little log. But hey, look at that! All right. Okay. So let's make this game show some feedback now. This was the main thing I wanted to get done tonight, so I'm very excited it's working. This is awesome. We're gonna go down here. In these cases, let's actually show something in the log. So we just say log event, and we say, what do we say in this case? Now, in this case, this is not a user error. So we're gonna leave it like this. Yeah, let's leave it like that. And this one also, but this one is user error. So we would instead say log.log event, and we'll say player name. Sorry, username plus you didn't specify an emote. And ultimately, I think, let's go look at this thing. Log, event log. It would be nice if we could actually have a color per line. Maybe we'll come back to that. Okay, so that should work there. And then in this case, we can just we can do like log.log event, and we'll say setting plus username emote 2, and then target emote dot name. Okay. All right. Okay, so now we should see some stuff here in the log, in the game view there. So if I say like emote and that's it, it says Wallaber, you didn't specify an emote. Nice. If I type emote, and I just type blah, Wallaber, you didn't specify an emote. Emote. Does it work like this? Yeah, it does. Okay. Oh, we transitioned, so we didn't get to see the text there. And we missed it for this one. We don't have any votes yet, so there's no. And it just said there, setting Wallaber emote to Wallaber. Aha. All right. Cool. And now if I actually vote, let's see, what's this going to be? Okay, that's definitely going in bucket 2. Did I get my vote in really late there? I think I did. There, and this nice pixelated emote. Pretty awesome. Okay, let's try it again. Let's see let's get a vote in faster. Ooh. 3. We should clear the log when we come back after the recap. Ooh, it's gonna go in 3. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get 750 points. Let's see. 950. That was at 950. I actually had points there from before, it looks like. That's weird. Did it count me in that 0, I guess? It knows I'm AFK. That's cool. Alright, this is very exciting. We got emotes! So this is a perfect stopping point for tonight. I think I would like to include emoji support, but I think emotes go a huge way already to making this much more interesting and personalized. And you can use any emote that you have access to, which is really cool. Yeah. Lovely. Lovely. Let's see, I forgot how many AFKs you can be before it starts subtracting. I think it's 3. Whoa. Ooh, look at that. Fake out. Well, that might actually still end up in bucket 3. Probably. After all that. Yeah. AFK, am I losing points yet? Not yet. One more round, probably. Alright, this is good progress today. I also need to set this thing back to 3 buckets. 4 is too many. Or I think 3 is more fun. The next thing we gotta do is we need to make it so we can have different layouts, different boards. I think that's the next big step. There we go. Minus 100 for being AFK. Oh, this is exciting with the emotes. Let's do one more emote. Let's go find like a oh, I have like these random ones. I can try one of these. Sir Ubu. Let's see if it loaded it properly. Yeah. That's cool. I wonder if there's a way to cheese this URL to get the higher res ones. I think it's probably okay to use the low res ones. It looks fine. Nice. Alright. So I'm just going to put back the tuning to the 15 seconds that we had. Okay. Save. Alright. Cool. Alright, next time I work on this, I think we'll work on making it so we can have different layouts. And then I need to test it and make sure it can last, because the previous version with the older Twitch lib seemed to be losing connection to the chat after a few minutes of play when I made a build and actually tried to run it in the stream, so we need to look into that. I think up next though is board layouts, and then we'll go from there. All right. Thanks everyone for hanging out, and we'll be back next time. Bye.